Do you think the past just stays where it is? Do you believe time softens the pain? You might want to hold on to that thought, because today, we're talking about something many seniors feel, but rarely speak about out loud. Before we begin, I want to ask, where are you watching from? Leave me a comment, I truly love to know. And if this message touches you in any way, if it stirs something deep, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. You help us keep these real stories alive, stories of elderly wisdom, quiet strength, and the kind of truth we only see clearly after 70. Now, take a breath. This won't be easy. But it's important. Because this isn't a video about aging. It's about what we carry with us when we age. You see, most people think pain only comes from what was done to us. But for many seniors, the real pain comes from what was left undone. The apology that never left our lips. The forgiveness we never gave. The silence we thought would protect us, but only made the wound deeper. I met Leonard last year. He's 86. Sits alone most afternoons, watching the sky from a bench near the rose bushes at his nursing home. We spoke a few times, mostly short, polite exchanges. Then one day, he said this. I haven't spoken to my daughter in 12 years. She begged me to come to her wedding. I told her if she married that man, I wouldn't be there. And I kept my word. He paused. She kept hers too. She never called again. He looked down at his hands. They were trembling, but not from age. I write her birthday cards every year. He said. But I never send them. What would I say? Sorry I missed your life? You see, that's the heartbreak so many older adults carry. Not just that something ended, but that nothing was ever finished. Time passed. Birthdays. Holidays. Grandchildren they've never met. And now what's left is the silence. The kind of silence that doesn't fade. The kind that grows louder in the night when the house is still and the memories come back sharp. The truth is, unresolved pain doesn't stay quiet forever. It waits. It returns. And it shows up when you're too tired to run from it. Martha knows that too well. She's 80. Lived most of her life in Minnesota. 2 sons. Widowed early. Strong woman. Never missed a day of work. The kind who cooked big Sunday meals and taught everyone else how to be tough. But she couldn't cook away this one regret. My sister died before I could say I'm sorry, that she told me. We fought over something stupid. Some inheritance thing. I thought we'd talk again. That we'd fix it. She blinked away tears. I missed her funeral. I couldn't face it. Not after what I said. Now, every Christmas, she sets 2 plates. One for her. One for the sister she never made peace with. Not because it fixes anything, but because it's all she can do now. Some people think time heals everything. But ask the elderly, really ask them, and they'll tell you, time just removes the opportunity to say the things we should have said when we still could. And sometimes, the weight of those words, it never leaves. I remember Paul. A 91-year-old former military man. Stoic. Disciplined. Never raised his voice. But when we talked about regret, he folded. My son called me one night. He was crying. Needed me to say it was okay. That I loved him. But I told him to toughen up. That he was being weak. That was the last call. His son died 3 weeks later. Paul keeps that voicemail. Hasn't played it in years. Can't bring himself to delete it either. He told me. I thought love meant being strong. I didn't know it could mean saying sorry. That's the kind of wisdom that only comes after loss. After silence. After realizing that strength isn't always about holding your ground. Sometimes it's about laying your pride down and saying, I was wrong. I hurt you. Please forgive me. Even if it's years later. even if they're no longer here. Because unresolved conflict doesn't just sit in your memory, it lives in your body. In your chest. In your stomach. In your dreams. It makes your sleep lighter. Your sighs heavier. It makes you flinch at old songs. Lose yourself in familiar places. It turns silence into a burden. And the only way to lighten it? Speak. Write. Whisper. Say what you've held in your heart for too long. Even if no one hears it but you. Because healing isn't about being heard by others, it's about finally listening to yourself. So I want to ask you something. Quietly. Honestly. Is there someone you still talk to in your mind? Someone you imagine saying I'm sorry to? Then do it. Write the letter. Say the prayer. Stand in the room and speak out loud. You don't need permission. You just need peace. And peace comes when we stop hiding from what hurt us and start honoring what we wish we had said. If you've made it this far, thank you. I mean that. Leave me a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. And if this message meant something to you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because here, we don't run from our past. We speak it out. So we can finally let it go. There's a strange thing that happens with time. At first, you think it will heal everything. That if you wait long enough, the sting of a broken bond will fade, the anger will settle, the silence will stop hurting. But for many seniors I've spoken with, the opposite is true. The longer it's been, the deeper the ache becomes. Not because the pain has grown, but because the chance to fix it has shrunk. And with every birthday, every holiday, every quiet Sunday afternoon, you start to realize, what hurts most is not what happened. It's what didn't happen after. Let me tell you about Jean. She's 82. Lives in Florida now. Loves birds, old hymns, and lemon cake. But she carries a heaviness that no one in her family really knows about. It's her sister. They were close once. Inseparable, really. But there was a betrayal, money, misunderstanding, words said in anger. And for 27 years, they didn't speak. I thought about calling her 100 times, Jean said. But pride always got in the way. I kept thinking, why should I be the one to reach out? She waited too long. Her sister passed away last year. Now Jean keeps her number in her phone, still. I scroll past it sometimes, she whispered. Even though I know it won't ring anymore. And then she said something I'll never forget. I didn't lose my sister when she died. I lost her when I stayed silent. That's the danger of waiting. Not all apologies get the chance to be heard. Not all bridges can be rebuilt. But some could have been. If we had just acted sooner. And then there's the guilt. A quiet, lingering kind that seeps into your bones the older you get. You start replaying old conversations. Things you said in anger. Things you didn't say when it mattered. You tell yourself you were young. Or tired. Or just trying to survive. But your heart doesn't care about excuses. It just remembers the moment someone walked away, and you let them. I met Walter in a retirement home just outside Seattle. He had photos of all 5 of his children on the wall. But when I asked him how often they visited, his face changed. Only 2 still talk to me. He said. The others, they gave up on me years ago. I asked him why. He looked down. I wasn't kind, he said. I didn't know how to be. My own father was hard. I thought love was discipline. Control. Now I realize, it was supposed to be softness. Then he looked at the floor and whispered. I wish I could tell them I'm sorry. Not because I want their forgiveness. Just because they deserved better. That's another truth many elderly live with. The pain of realizing you became someone you never meant to be. Not out of cruelty. But out of pain. Out of habit. Out of fear. And by the time the clarity comes, the damage has been done. And what you're left with is the echo of your own mistakes. But what I want to tell you, if you've ever felt that way, is this. You are still worthy of forgiveness. Even if others never give it to you. Even if they've moved on. Even if they never speak your name again. Because sometimes, the apology isn't for them. It's for you. To finally lay down the guilt. To stop punishing yourself for who you were when you didn't know better. Because healing doesn't require the other person to respond. It requires you to be honest with your own heart. There's an old man I met named Clarence. He's 90 now. And every night, before bed, he speaks out loud to the people he once hurt. It's just me and the walls now, he said. But I still speak. Because silence is what broke us in the first place. And maybe that's the lesson. It's not always about fixing the relationship. Sometimes, it's about not carrying the wound into your final days. Because unresolved conflict doesn't just sit quietly. It shows up in our health. In our sleep. In the way our chest tightens when we see an old photo. In the way we flinch when someone brings up their name. You deserve peace. And if that peace comes from writing a letter you never send, do it. If it comes from sitting in your chair, closing your eyes, and whispering "I'm sorry," then say it. If it comes from telling a friend, a journal, or even this comment section what you wish you had said, that matters. Because the pain of conflict left unresolved is one of the greatest weights the elderly carry. But it's not too late to lighten the load. So let me ask you something personal, gently, with care, who still lives in your heart, even if they're no longer in your life? And what would you say to them, if you could? Let me know in the comments. And please, like this video and subscribe to the channel if it resonated with you. This is a space for truth. For elderly wisdom. For healing, even in the final chapters. Because your story is still being written. And peace is still possible. There's a moment in aging, somewhere between the quiet afternoons and the long, restless nights, when a thought creeps in and refuses to leave. Did I leave too many things unfinished? Not the errands. Not the chores. But the relationships. The words never said. The doors left closed. The hearts we once held, and let go of. This is the ache no medicine can fix. The ache of emotional loose ends. And for so many seniors I've met, that ache becomes louder with time. It's not just about guilt. It's about longing. Longing for peace. Longing for the version of you that would have chosen understanding over pride. Longing for one more conversation, just one, to say what really needed to be said. Let me tell you about Sylvia. She's 89. Silver hair, always neatly curled. Her voice is soft but certain. She lost her best friend, June, nearly a decade ago. Not to death. To silence. We were best friends for over 40 years, she told me. Raised our kids side by side. Laughed together every day. Until one day, she accused me of saying something behind her back. I didn't. But she didn't believe me. Sylvia tried to explain. Tried to fix it. But June wouldn't speak to her. So she stopped trying. I waited for her to come around, Sylvia said. I waited for years. But June passed away before the conversation ever happened. And now I write to her in my journal, Sylvia said. I tell her everything I never got to say. I forgive her. I hope she forgives me too. That's the quiet truth behind so many elderly hearts. They're still having conversations with ghosts. Because conflict doesn't end when someone leaves. It ends when you let it go. And letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over pride. It means saying, even if they never said sorry, I will no longer carry this pain like a second skin. You can't change the past. But you can stop letting it define your present. And that brings me to Roy. Roy is 86. Lost his wife 15 years ago. They had a good marriage. But not a perfect one. I wasn't always kind, he said. I took her for granted. I thought she'd always be there. I didn't say thank you enough. I didn't listen enough. And now, he paused. I just hope she knew I loved her, even when I didn't say it. I sat there in silence, because what could I say to that? Then Roy looked up and said something I want to share with you. The thing that haunts you most in old age isn't what people did to you. It's what you didn't do when you had the chance. Let that sit for a moment. Because that's not just elderly reflection. That's life wisdom. It's the realization that when time starts to run out, our mistakes echo louder than our triumphs. But here's what Roy did next, and this is the part one wants you to remember. He wrote a letter to his wife. Not to send. Not for anyone else to read. Just to say the things he never said. He wrote about their wedding day. About the little things she did that made him smile. About the arguments that didn't matter, and the love that always did. And at the end, he wrote 4 words. I'm sorry. Thank you. Then he folded the letter and placed it inside her favorite book. Now, he said. I can breathe again. Sometimes, that's all it takes. A letter. A prayer. A moment of stillness where you give yourself permission to feel and release what's been sitting in your heart for too long. So let me say this to you, gently. If you're still holding on to pain from a fight, if you're still waiting for someone to say sorry, or still wishing you had said something sooner, maybe now is the time. Not to get an answer. Not to make it perfect. But to set yourself free. Because the final chapters of your life shouldn't be written in shame, or silence, or regret. They should be written in peace. In understanding. In forgiveness, especially the kind you give to yourself. You've done the best you could with what you knew at the time. And now you know more. You feel more. You are more. So give yourself grace. Write that letter. Speak their name. Say I'm sorry, even if no one is listening. Say I forgive you, even if they never ask. Say I forgive myself, because that might be the most important of all. If this message spoke to you, please tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just talk about the past, we make peace with it. We share senior wisdom. We honor the emotions that others overlook. And we walk each other home, one truth at a time. There is still time. Not to change what happened, but to release its grip on your heart. And in that release, there is healing. There is freedom. There is you, whole again.